Welcome back, everybody. We are jumping into the finals of the GenCon 2022 Regional License Exam. I'm Aspire, and of course, I'm joined by my phenomenal co-host, Levi from Alliteration Gaming. How you feeling, Levi?
You're too sweet, George. I'm feeling fantastic, man. Tell me what we got in store for this finals, baby.
Yeah, we've got
the finals.
Yeah, I mean, we have some major hitters here. We have, of course, Asui making it through with Ryan Field, and on the other side of that, we have Momo piloted by Chris Bromley. So two very different sides of the coin here in today's finals.
Absolutely, absolutely. A deck that is centered around just coming in hot, coming in slamming, and mowing you down before you get a chance to really sit up and stabilize. And then Bromley on the complete other side of the equation with Momo wanted to be a deck that plays a very, very, very long game, sets up, stabilizes, builds and blocks until eventually working their way towards a kill turn.
And here we do see the Asui take advantage of the ready, set, go on the fourth build from Chris to go ahead and build that first two, which puts Ryan in a wonderful position here to be able to extend on to a massive build while still having cards in hand to kind of sculpt or protect himself going into his second turn here. So Chris has the advantage here being able to go first, meaning that Asui doesn't get to set the tone and Chris does get to sculpt a little bit of a better defensive hand in regards to going into Asui's turn 2, but going turn 2 with a build 6 is not nothing. So Ryan is definitely in a position to try and push in some damage.
Yeah, it definitely feels like Ryan went first here in a lot of ways. The only difference is that Bromley gets a little more time to set up. Although we're actually seeing some aggression come out on Bromley's end with the capturing net. I mean, but in the face of, the 6 ready foundations on Ryan's field is actually, it's definitely not the most comfortable spot to be in. I have to imagine that Chris's hand is probably pretty angry here. Otherwise, we'd be seeing a much, much more defensive build right now.
Right. I mean, the one benefit from Capture Net is that you get to be like offensive with a little bit of defense because then you build on the foundation and some poke. So we'll see. Maybe he's just trying to see, force Ryan's hand. Those are cards that Ryan wanted to keep and not build. So naturally, maybe try and either, hey, you're going to take this poke, or I'm going to force you to get rid of a card that you want to use on your attack turn.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, you're going to be able to enable a lot of Momo shenanigans here. Really, really good stuff happening for you. At the same time, you got to be wary, despite it being just Ryan's second turn, he's been going into it with a 7 foundation stage, which is more than enough for him to play 7, 8, and 9 attacks on. That's kind of the dichotomy of these two decks right now. This Asui deck is very, very, very aggressively slanted. I'm going to talk about my favorite thing ever is ratios. This is an extremely aggressively slanted Asui deck that is very, very much determined to do nothing but find 5, 6, and upwards of 7 attacks by its turn 2, just jam them all down on the board and defeat the opponent before they have a chance to really get any kind of solid defense or aggression going. So already the hand is looking pretty aggressive for Ryan. I'm looking at frog kicks, I'm looking at frog lashings, I'm looking at all of the good stuff, right? And he's got a very healthy stage as well. Passing towards to draw cards, excited for blood to draw cards, really extending past even the egregious 7 hand size into 8, 9, 10, crazy levels of cards that you can dig for, helping you find that ridiculous number of attacks for you to play. And of course, one of the stars here, Crow and Frog. Not the most fantastic check in the world, but I mean, Crow and Frog ready's one. That Amphibious is going to come up in the very, very near future. And of course, the Crow and Frog isn't going to counter progressive, making the next one even easier to play. Right now, Bromley, despite going first, despite having 2 great build turns, is really, really, really on the back foot here. Has to be ready for anything that could be coming from Ryan's side of the field because he understands and knows how potent this deck is and how fast it looks to be so potent. And I mean, Bromley, of course, despite being on the back foot here, it's definitely not an uncomfortable place for him as a player. Chris Bromley being one of the most prominent defensive players in the game's history, very much known for his wall decks and his blocking strategies and things like that. So of course, Momo being a real good fit for a deck of him right here. And Bromley's been probably the player hottest on the life symbol since it got so many new things to play with. in set 2. So him finally moving on to the Momo versions of the deck is very, very interesting. He's been on Toga before, he's been on Ochako before, trying out like a new flavor of life every now and then, and now making it, I believe, as far as he's made it in one of these regional licensing exams, coming to the finals with Momo this time.
Yep, one of his first times doing it, having good performances on the symbol itself with Toga back over in Vegas. So definitely capable of presenting these top performances, but first time making his finals representation here. So let's see if he's able to push that button and go all the way for the crown. Over here, taking a little bit of damage here from that Chrome Frog takedown now that we're going into the Tux Max. So looking at 18 for Ryan, 20 for Chris here. Both the players still having a lot of options available to them on their board, and Bromley having a sizable hand potentially to be able to kind of block the aggression here.
Yeah, I mean, the blocking potential of Momo knows no bounds. We're going to see all of these speed shenanigans. Rescue completed with Momo is just super duper effective, and of course being able to pick up any weapon you want for any block zone that you want is always going to be really consistent and nice. And so then on the other side of the table, we have Ryan Field, who is certainly not a newcomer by any means to the top tables. He's someone who's topped with a myriad of decks in the past, and finally moving on to Asui in this form for today, in the hopes of finally securing a new personal record for himself as far as the top tables go, right? The strength of Asui is something that certainly cannot be denied. We've seen a lot of players this event and in the last few events, moving towards her, gravitating towards her, understanding the power, the consistency, and the ceiling of the deck, and everything that he can do, and just what makes it such a powerful choice for these events.
Absolutely. We said as we were going into the match, two very different sides of the spectrum here. That said, Chris did finish his match before the Asui and Jiro match ended up concluding here.
He absolutely did.
Very much capable of putting metal to the pedal here and pressing on. So Ryan is going to have to be considerate of how Chris is going to approach this matchup and not leave himself too open for potentially a barrage of attacks.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Bromley simply face taking everything up to this point, which, I mean, for a character like Momo and a player like Bromley, very interesting. I wonder if we're just seeing a case of the a case of the Jiros, right? Where I've simply got these moves in my hand that will blow you up next turn. I am taking everything until it's lethal. I have to imagine that Bromley is very attached to the cards in his hand. Otherwise, he wouldn't be letting Ryan put so much free damage on his face right now.
Yeah, I think he's getting ready for the crackback here, taking that damage and going down to 13 health.
Yeah, so finally executing a block, only a half though on the frog kick. Still deals damage, still going to have +3 speed to the next move, but of course it's going to come in with +3 speed and then immediately get reset to 1 with the Netgun's removability. So not the worst trade-off in the world, but still already being at 10 life. Ryan still with 4 foundations ready and 2 things to flip. I apologize. 2 things to flip. 1 more ready from this frog kick here. The next one we play will have 1 more ready as well. Could easily see 2-3 more attacks come out of here. And then it's really going to come down to what exactly Bromley's holding in his hand and whether or not he can continue to hold on to it. But we're really just seeing very, very textbook play of this Asui deck. This is exactly the goal of this deck, is to just get its foundations settled and then put out as many attacks as you can possibly draw between your 7 hand size and all the draw power under the life symbol.
So, for what it's worth, though, Ryan is in a position where almost everything is flipped. So, his flexibility is definitely getting limited. Of course, Asui loving the flipped foundations just because they make your lashings all that much better. But what you do trade away is your ability to be flexible with what your opponent's trying to do, with with how you can manipulate your own board to try and make it more likely for things to get through. So here, Ryan very much fully committing to the notion that, I think this is going to be my turn. I'm going for it.
Yeah, I mean, when you draw 3 frog kicks, you kind of just know what you have to do, right? You kind of just understand what the universe has gravitated you towards. But yeah, certainly the gas is starting to run out when it comes to our flipped foundations. All of these 3 checks rearing their heads on our first 3 moves, I believe, putting us in not the greatest position that we'd like to be in. as we can see, not even using Asui to kick the previous frog kick and ready something. So going in on the frog lashing, the breaker 2 coming to making us check a 3. Committing 4 things here to go ahead and get this through, which is going to, I mean, that's frog lashing, right? So we're going to commit our 4 things, be left with 1, but then of course frog lashing will ready 2. And we can kick a frog kick to go ahead and ready 1 more. Then playing another move here is certainly feasible, depending on if we can get a lethal move out there and also put Bromley in a position where he cannot block anymore after stopping this one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, the main luxury of the health total that Chris is at right now is that every frog lashing is just lethal right away. You know, you don't have to bother actually making sure that your face downs are ready, so you can just send it in all the way at the end just like this.
Yep, so solid breaker here.
Yeah, the breaker certainly made probably more than one more move pretty unfeasible. Really just comes down though to what the move is and to what the checks are like for sure. You know, we've got 3 things to commit. So right now a 4 diff move is not failable and a 5 diff move can pass if we check well. We can also flip that last box babes floating around my babies to ready our character and make sure that we cannot fail a 5 diff move as well. So Bromley in a pretty polarizing position here. Really just going to come down to what kind of blocks we're hanging on to, and if those can find their way in the card pool. You know, all of Sue's attacks are just so aggressively fast, and at this 7 life total, everything is lethal. We're going to be very reliant on just nuking our entire stage to try and survive this onslaught.
All right, and that's it.
Unfortunately, not going to be able to pass that block check. Don't even need another move. It's going to be a very, very, very swift victory for Ryan there, much to Chris's dismay. But again, this is the Asui deck, right? This is the one that we were talking about. This is the one that simply tries to jam as many attacks as it can down your throat before you can really get a chance to stabilize. And even 2 straight-up build turns as Bromley on Momo 1 dot was simply not enough to stop this deck when it draws what it needs. And I mean, that's what the ratios are for, right? You know, 22 attacks, 50 cards, you're gonna see orange.
Yeah, 100%. Especially going into the build turn that Ryan did, effectively ending his turn 1 with 6 foundations, having 3 cards in hand, meaning that he's not really forced to do anything with them. He can face tank, and then he has the flexibility to be able to block with one of them and still have those attacks to kind of kickstart everything. And then, well, he saw 3 frog kicks, so being able to draw into even more gas, being able to push even more, just allowed him to, when you see orange, legitimately the turn 2, I'm going to see orange, I'm going to play orange.
Yeah, and even through 4 3 checks.
Again, 3 checks, a breaker 2.
4 3 checks, a breaker 2. Bromley being Momo, removing blocks from his own card pool, building things down, minusing 2, 3, 4 speed on everything. Still, just simply not enough to stop the crazy level of aggro coming out of Ryan's Asui deck.
So here we see siding in some 6 cards.
Yep, definitely a healthy amount of siding going on for Bromley here. Certainly going to have to be a little more prepared if he can in the slightest. Obviously, being able to go first is going to help again. Hopefully, it's enough to keep him from perishing quite so early on. Once again, I think we're going to see very, very similar things happen for Bromley's end. Probably going to see 2 straight turns of building, trying to stabilize, trying to build up a stage that can actually stop not the entirety of Asui's turn, but at least it resulting in 26 damage to 0.
Right. So, I talked to a lot of old heads, a lot of them, big fan of bridge shuffling.
Yeah.
How about you? Would you ever bridge shuffle a deck?
Absolutely.
This
right here is my bread and butter. I power shuffle after every single game of My Hero Academia card game that I've ever played.
Yeah.
I will never not. I don't know. It's just the way to go for me.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. I know some people are a little odd about it. A lot of people think that it's stacking your deck, it's not properly randomized, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think those claims are a little silly. Obviously, the riffles come after. You can shuffle my deck too if you want. I think it's the most efficient, cleanest way of randomizing your cards.
Okay, so here Bromley will have the opportunity to go first once again. So we'll see Ryan, more likely than not, having kept those ready set goes in. So he's been incredibly good at finding those in his hand on turn 1. So we'll see if he's able to continue that trend going into this game 2, putting himself in a position maybe to be ahead on resources once again.
For sure, maining the ready set goes is a really, really, really critical part of this Asui deck's goal, right? On what it wants to accomplish, and really just try and take away the advantage of your opponent having the first turn as much as you can. You know, obviously, when you win the die roll, it's fantastic, but when you lose it, you've got these backup plans here too. And regardless of how this game plays out, you know, if we make our way over to a game 3, Ryan is going to get to be on the play with first turn, and that is going to be a very scary spot to be in. But for now, Bromley has to worry about surviving this game, right? So obviously, you know, last game we had some really key defensive pieces on hand. We're going to be looking to acquire a little bit more of them. We didn't have our release. Definitely one of the biggest things there would have led to us being able to pass probably a couple more block checks throughout that turn. The rescue completed, and the studying partner. It's obviously really, really, really nice there. Ooh. Okay, so just going to get the second quick create out of his hand, or ideally, you know, in the perfect world, check the 6. But also, more importantly, only building 3 foundations. Building 4 things, building 3 foundations, denying the ready, set, go. That is instantly reviewed out of Ryan's hand. Very, very heads up of Bromley there. Doesn't want to surrender his first turn advantage like he did, unfortunately, in game 1. And a really, really beautiful build 5 on Zeus, and ready, set, go or not, still putting up a very healthy stage very early on.
Yep. Chris being incredibly considerate of time here, playing very, very fast. Going through very, very fast.
It's just how Bromley plays.
Oh, is it?
It's just how Bromley plays. Bromley is a pretty quick fella. If you've ever seen him play in time, he is just rapid fire, announcing everything he does, and pretty much just under the understanding of, hey, if you want to stop me, feel free to go ahead. I understand when the important points for you to stop me and do something that's on your board are, so I'll stop whenever you need me to. But no, Bromley's a very, very quick player. He's extremely efficient.
We're in the tank here, trying to figure out our string.
Definitely in the tank here. We've got the capture net in hand, but at the same time, is that even as that one attack, is that something we can afford to swing? Like, we've only got 3 foundations on our board. We certainly do not have
not a lot.
No, it's not much of a stage to defend with, and between the 5 on Asui's board, you know, that's more than enough to get a very, very sizable chunk of attacks out, barring any really, really bad checks.
Right.
All right, just going right for the build, which I totally agree with. I think all you can think about right now is stabilizing. You don't have the luxury to consider poking or doing anything frivolous like that. You just need to make sure that when the 5, 6 attacks come down on the next turn, you are not left wanting.
Yep, that you're in a position to be able to mitigate.
Right, and, you know, getting really, really key pieces down as well, like your release, like your someone with style, like your amphibious. You know, really, really, really important stuff to deal with the aggression coming out of Ryan, potentially on this turn.
Yep, looks like we drew a sizable amount of attacks, at least 3 to 4 in hand at the moment. So
most certainly,
we got the orange,
and we've got a very reasonable amount of draw power as well on our field, right? We've got our passing the torch, we got our preparing for battle, a lot of things going on over here that can help us find even more attacks, right? The tongue smack as well coming down, all right? So once again, unfortunately, this tongue smack not going to be drawing us a card because ready, set, go, despite forming to remove itself and draw a card, does not actually leave the card pool as it never entered. The whole performance of the action takes place in a transitory zone. So this is going to be this is just going to be a simple 6 high for 6 tongue smack, which even without the card draw, certainly not anything to frown at. The nature of Asui is that she can just make any attack really threatening in a lot of ways. 2 speed just makes anything really difficult to deal with. So it looks like Bromley carefully weighing his options here. You know, Bromley is certainly very proficient at blocking Asui's strategies.
Yeah.
very, very, very privy to the moves you understand you have to take for free because the future ones could just kill you. You know, you can block 5 moves and then just lose to 2 Frog Lashings at the end, right? Never a position you want to put yourself in. However, when you have the face shield block for Asui's first attack, you have to go for it.
Yep, I mean, it just forces Asui to play with this level of progressive difficulty that it typically doesn't have to. It's not incredibly high tax, but it's a tax that, you know, over the span of 2-3 attacks with a couple of bad checks could definitely pay off.
Right, yeah, exactly. So now the Tongue Whip coming in, hopefully you've got a low block set aside for this bad boy, or it's going to put a pretty sizable chunk of damage onto our face. Being able to ready our Amphibious now as well, because our Faith Shield left the card pool. Very, 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 very nice. Looks like we are considering removing one, potentially. Maybe we do, maybe we don't have our low block. I don't know if we have a Preparing for Battle available to us in our discard pile to pick up with Momo's remove. Worst case scenario, we have to put a half block out, potentially, maybe. Going to give it a nice little damage with its own ability after stuffing the card pool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tongue's Back is kind of just the best opener, the best extender, the best finisher. Card is always really, really, really powerful. Certainly, a lot of attacks over the course of time being released have elevated Asui to a position that she simply wasn't in when the game first released. Crow and Frog and Tongue Whip being really, really huge proprietors of that.
Right.
So right now as Bromley, you know, what's kind of going through your head right now? You know, how many more moves are potentially coming? You know, is 5 going to be the scariest move? Is 7 damage going to be the scariest move? What actually, you know, could they potentially be sending at us, and how ready should I be for the future? And I think that's one of the scariest aspects about this Asui deck, right? Is that it always presents the potential of so much damage.
Right.
It often leads to you having to kind of sit there and be so respectful of it that you take attacks that you had more than enough potential to block.
All right, so here we go. Chris going into his next turn here, only going down to 21 health. So in a very good position here to kind of maybe counteract. Ryan having 3 cards in hand, so having some options in regards to defense.
Yeah, it really just depends what's in Bromley's hand right now. This could be a very good opportunity to get some damage in. You know, the Tongue Whip starting off very, very, very strong. Going to put in some progressive blocking difficulty that Asui cannot avoid. And then it looks like, I believe we also have a Cannon Blast in hand, which could potentially put a really, really, really big chunk of damage on the table. So let's kind of see how Ryan responds to this, and you know, maybe Ryan is the one who has to put a little bit of respect on Bromley's potential aggro here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Momo isn't one of those characters that you expect to kind of just blow you up out of nowhere, but when Cannon Blast is in your deck, Cannon Blast is in your deck, and you never know what could happen.
Yep, looks like we're going into a rescue, and then into the capture net.
All right, committing 3 for this capture net. Interesting. I definitely just thought the Bromley was going to be building here. It looks like we maybe are actually going for the victory here. The stun 2 going to be coming in hard. You know, only leaving us with our 1, 2, 3 ready foundations. However, the main thing that's inhibiting us right now as Chris is the encouraging training partner sitting on the field there. Obviously sitting there waiting for us to pump our cannon up to oblivion and then reset it back all the way down to 4.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the encouraging training partner definitely proving itself as one of the most potent pieces in Ryan's deck, being a very, very pivotal card throughout his previous match against Jiro, right? River Cook, you know. River having all 4 specials of sound out was a pretty crazy spot.
Pretty good.
But a couple of encouraging training partners, a couple of frog kicks, and suddenly all of that insane levels of speed reduction was nearly completely negated.
So we'll be seeing what the follow through is here.
Yeah, I have to imagine that if we've committed this hard to this play, that Bromley
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's Bromley.
that Bromley has seen some kind of line here. But it remains to be seen. Like I said, I know we have that cannon blast sitting in our head. Maybe we're trying to bait out the encouraging training partner first, or output so much potential damage that we end up having to commit it to block it.
Right.
So there is the bait scenario right there. The encouraging training partner coming in, flipping it down, making the capture net 4 speed, which is really interesting. I guess we we have our low block and it's solid. We want to make sure that we can get it in there. So even though it only takes away a couple speed, it's not a bad move. We're certainly open to whatever comes after now, but it's hard to say what could come after. With Bromley only having 5 foundations, and now going down to nearly no ready foundations. With this capture net play, we're gonna bring one down. But then at that point, our cannon blast would be on an 8. Best case scenario, we can check a 5 and commit our 2 foundations and Momo for it, and then it will gain no damage and not really go anywhere. I don't think we've readied our amphibious yet, so that's at least something available to us. We also have a someone with style, so we can destroy and ready 1. So could potentially have 2 foundations there. Maybe pump some cannon damage up if we do check well. But it's certainly looking very touch and go right now. The whole game is being balanced precariously on the dime of what Bromley has in store after this capture net.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, presumably it's going to stop here, right? Like as much as this can push and it can deal damage, it'll very much be like, what position can I put myself to weather the storm coming afterwards?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, this far in, I don't know if there's anything we can do to weather any kind of storm that Ryan's going to come at us with. I feel like this is a pretty make or break point right now for Bromley. So going to block on the 2, 3, 4, checking our 3 and committing 1. Only a half block though, so 2 damage with that coming through. But that might be all that we needed to negate to make sure that that Bromley cannot count to our remaining life total.
Yep, presumably here we're just going to stop there, and that does look to be it. Checking the 4.
Thankfully checking the 4, and now at this point it's kind of up to it is up to the hands of fate to see if Ryan can find this massive 21 damage that he needs. But in a character like Asui, that number is deceptively massive. Certainly something that she's capable of plowing through in just a few attacks.
All right, so drawing.
Yep, starting off with a tongue smack in hand. And a frog kick.
I saw at least 2 orange.
Yeah, I think we've got a frog kick and a tongue smack. So I'm going to start with the frog kick for sure. And then tongue smack can come in next. We have a preparing for battle to dig for cards. We have a passing the torch to dig for more cards. So there is still some potential for something past 2 attacks. So we're going to instantly draw. Looks like we drew... can't exactly see what we drew from our passing the torch there. Our preparing for battle to discard a card and draw a card. Desperately searching for orange right now. Discarding another card, drawing another card. Beautiful. You love to see it. So much digging going on right now. I mean, as also we have now looked at 10 cards in total this turn.
Decent.
Very, 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 very decent. And we're also filling that discard pile up for things like the Furling Around My Babies to have a pretty unlimited amount of ammo. So flip our very useless passing the torch now that it's been quite committed, and go ahead and ready our character. And we're gonna do that until we connect. So we're only going down to 15 here, and then there's a tongue smack coming in. A beautiful check.
Heard Bromley loves that card.
Oh yeah, it's his favorite card actually.
Yeah.
He actually told me that he wishes Momo had some kind of character committal cost,
right,
so that he could play consistently in Momo. But unfortunately, the raw, unrivaled power of the tongue smack can only be limited to so many decks in our format.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what kind of a game would we be playing?
Of course.
Yep. So the tongue smack coming in, kicking the frog kick, readying 1, getting speed, getting damage, drawing a card, readying our preparing for battle, letting us commit it and discard and draw again, letting us dig even one more card. That's 2 more now, going to 12 cards that we've seen this turn if we perform that play. 11 at the moment with the tongue smack draw. Just so many cards.
Yeah, lots of cards.
So many cards and so many chances to see our flurry of attacks. So once again, Bromley showing us how familiar he is on how to play around this deck, taking all of these moves, as bad as it feels, right? Taking all of these moves super early on to make sure that when the big things come, you can stop them from one-shotting you. But Ryan, I mean, even with a bad check-in, still looking to be in a pretty good spot. I think we still have that amphibious already. We have a handful of things that we can go ahead and flip and ready, so we can continue the battle. So let's see how Ryan wants to proceed here. Frog Kick is such a dangerous card here. You know, presenting so much speed on the next move if it happens to get any damage through. Always challenging the opponent to have that low block zone. And of course, being able to ready something when it gets kicked is going to just extend our plays.
Mm-hmm. So we got Amphibious going up, resetting itself.
Mm-hmm.
And see if, I think this is what we knew. See if through all that digging, Ryan was able to find more.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question. You know, we certainly found this new Frog Kick. This was not in our hand at the start of our turn, so let's see if it's brought any friends, right? You know, even if not, being able to get Momo down to 8 for free is a pretty good spot to be in, you know? Looks to be counting our attacks to try and see how many are left to possibly draw at our disposal. Very, very, very small deck size. This deck out is definitely no stranger of a threat to this Asui deck. You know, coming in at such a clean small number of cards and being one of these decks that want to just roll the dice so much, right?
Yep, and on top of that, using floating my baby so aggressively, not currently, but over time, just lends itself really well to making sure you're going through your deck once is pretty much all you're really going to get out of it.
Absolutely. After your first cycle, if you've been floating around your babies at all, there's not going to be a lot left to work with in your deck. And again, that's just the nature of this Asui deck, that trading that longevity for one simple damage is a super worthy exchange in a deck very reliant on defeating your opponent so quickly.
Yep, so did find the Frog Lashing. Well, we check decent here. Yeah, we do check the 5.
Yep, definitely found the Frog Lashing. So 2 readies are gonna come up here. And this is going to be a pretty threatening move. This is probably the last move that gets very comfortably blocked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going to be able to rescue completed to commit itself for -2 speed. We have the high value target to commit as 2 foundations. We have Momo herself to commit for rescue if we need. And of course, to grab a corresponding block on a weapon if we need.
Yep, so having the Frog Kick, being able to use Lashing then to uncommit an additional 2. And then going to use Asui to flip that Amphibious there will take us into lethal range if this goes unblocked.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if this is finally the one that Bromley is deemed worth blocking. It's also possible that he just doesn't have high blocks.
All right, so we're going to be floating into another damage. Going to be buffing up by 3 for our foundations.
Of course. You know, Frog Lashing do as Frog Lashing do, right?
And shipping it out.
Yeah, interesting that we're not committing the not committing the Asui to go ahead and give the speed pump there is pretty interesting. Just seems extremely worth it. You know, you're probably you're gonna get rescue completed activation. You're gonna get somewhat style activation. You're just debuilding your opponent so hard at that point that again it reminds me very much of the previous games where it's just you've committed and destroyed so much and you finally survive, but now it's just simply my 10 foundation stage to your 3.
Yep.
And it's just a hard game state to actually escape from.
So we do half block, going on to 2, and
yep,
if Ryan has any more follow-up, which Crow and Frog Takedown is definitely follow-up, is able to pass the check.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yeah, as I surmise, it just definitely seems like Bromley doesn't have high blocks unless he's just trying to bait his opponent right now.
And now effectively after this, there'll be no progressive difficulty on the board, so another attack will be passable if Ryan has an even another attack.
Yep. So it looks like for Rescue Complete, we committed to someone with style to be -2 speed. We're going to start with Momo for another -2 speed by the looks of it. Going to commit for Sue to get -2 speed. So all in all, in the long run, having, I believe, -2 speed on it. So coming at like a 2 high for 4 right now. It's definitely not unblockable by any means.
It's just about the zones at this point.
It really just about the zones at this point. At the same time, as much as you could potentially bait your opponent, right? It probably makes a lot more sense. Probably makes a lot more sense to just actually go for the full block. And we put a goofy little joke card on top of our deck, pretending to half block and die. And that is going to be it. Ryan Field taking it down with the frog. Yeah, I mean, Asui, easily one of the strongest characters in the running right now. And definitely showing her power, even in the face of the insurmountable wave of Momo striking this event down. She fought through it all. She fought through every Momo, every Kirishima 2, everyone that tried to stand up to her. Asui performed a takedown on.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, congratulations to both players. Both players walking away with amazing prizes. We got Bromley walking away with the contender package, and we have Ryan Field walking away with the champion package, coming away from GenCon as their regional champion and contenders. Now, we are extremely tight on time. Everyone around us is looking at us, glaring at us, telling us to leave. So we will take one quick minute to get a word from our champion, see how he feels, see how he is taking down this regional and what it is, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it all up after that. So we'll go ahead and jump into that, and then we'll be calling it a show for today. All right, everybody, and I'm here with our 2022 GenCon Regional License Exam champion, Ryan. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling ecstatic that I made it because Momo scared the hell out of me.
Very fair.
Like,
yeah.
Momo is it has to be one of the roughest matches for Life Sue.
Yeah, understandably so.
Yep.
So, I mean, what were you thinking going into the matchup?
I'm like, I really don't have a lot of words where it's just like,
Fair.
Bromley's an excellent player. He's all right. No, it's fine. He's an excellent player. I've known him for a few years. We've been playing. He regularly does beat me whenever we play, though.
Fair enough.
So, like, I always get like, this guy regularly beats me when in rounds.
Right. So going into that with that pressure going into the finals.
Yeah.
Understandably so.
Lost a little pressure after winning, going second. That's always a lot of pressure off.
Of course. Yeah. No, that's super awesome. So, I mean, of course, you are now the regional champion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, well done. Congratulations.
Thank
you. The floor is yours. Is there anything you want to let the people know going into, season 3 of regional license exams, or is there any shout outs for the people that helped get you here? The floor is yours.
I have to shout out Tim Keefe for supplying the deck. He gave me the list. Like, I consulted 2 people, one Jester Cervini, and then it's Tim Keefe, and I'm like, I like Tim Keefe's more. It has 3 blue cards in the deck.
Very understandable. Yeah.
Where does that go? Is after my heart. It was an older. It's a throwback to something where it's just like, I love drawing a card or building 2 on my opponent's turn.
I feel that.
That was kind of a very good card where it's just like, that got me the first game. Second game, he didn't play into it. He got that for the asset because I had actually a double blue hand with 4 foundations.
Oh wow, that would have been scary.
So it was gonna be scarier for him.
All right. Any closing thoughts to players?
If you put in the reps for whatever deck you actually want to play, you can actually just get good. I don't want to say get good, but
no, it's okay. Understandable.
You gotta actually repetitively play your games. I've run into Sue enough. And I've played at Tokiyami a lot, so I get the idea behind just hope to draw murder. Because that is all I did all this weekend. It's like, it's turn 2. Did I do it? Okay, we got there.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, your deck will do what your deck will do. And with that, that is the regional, everybody. Once again, congratulations on your win and being the champion.
Yep.
And with that said, guys, I hope you guys had a great time either at GenCon or watching the show. And we look forward to catching you guys jumping into Season 3. If you guys want to play in Season 3 regional license exams, provisional showdowns, the announced store championships, and please check the official MHA CCG website where you can find all the event details there. But with that said, to my casters, to the TOs, to the players, and to everyone out there watching, thank you guys so much. And with that said, we will catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.